Sending my two daughters to work at a major corporation without a husband was the badge of honor of my life. However, that badge has now become a shackle strangling me. My daughters were my everything, and I lived sacrificing even my pride for them. Yet now, all that remains at home is my 35-year-old daughter, who has been unemployed for 5 years, and an empty bank account. While 40 million won of my retirement funds was draining away without a trace due to my daughter's credit card bills, I realized something. I wasn't loving my daughter. I was creating a monster with my own hands. Where did I go wrong? I am beginning the story of a mother's harsh yet resolute decision. A woman who spent her entire life running around until her knees wore out, designing others' lives, but failing to design her own. Before the story begins, please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. This is a channel that delivers the hidden stories of ordinary people every day. Hello! My name is Lee Young-soon. I am 7 years old this year. Every morning, as a habit, I open the closet and take out a bag. It is a black insurance bag. The leather on the handles is worn and peeling from age, and one side of the zipper doesn't close properly. Even so, I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. That bag is my life. I was 43 when I first carried it. It was the year my husband suddenly passed away. It was an accident. My husband, who had left for work in the morning, returned home, cold and lifeless in the evening. After that day, I cried for 3 days without eating properly. But on the 7th day, the thought that I had to prepare meals for my daughters made me jump out of bed. My eldest daughter, Doa, was 16, and my second daughter, Gina, was 11. As a stay-at-home mom, I suddenly had to take responsibility for the family's livelihood. There was nothing I could do. Fortunately, an older friend suggested I try working for insurance, so I started, but at first, it was truly agonizing. I felt so ashamed to even bring up insurance when calling someone I knew. When I was rejected, I would cry all night with my mouth covered, but I would still get up in the morning. I couldn't help but get up when I saw my daughters' faces. The death benefit my husband left behind was 50 million won. I vowed that I would never ever use that money. I thought of it as my daughter's share. No, to be honest, I thought of it as the last lifeline my daughters could rely on even if I were gone. So I tucked that bank book deep into a drawer and avoided making eye contact with it. Pushing insurance was truly grueling. I had to smile even if a customer spoke to me informally, and I had to say it was okay if they didn't show up for an appointment. I left my pride at home. But strangely enough, as I went about my business like that, my performance actually picked up. I wasn't born with a knack for sales, but I think I endured solely on the basis of my diligence. I worked like that for over 20 years. Raising 2 daughters without a husband, I never once wanted them to feel the absence of a father. That was my lifelong task. I started at age 43 and retired at 65. My body just couldn't hold up. My knees were the first to break down. They told me my cartilage had worn down significantly from visiting customers' homes, going up and down stairs, and walking tens of thousands of steps a day. The hospital recommended surgery, but said it would be difficult to return to my previous level, even with the operation. I've worked for 20 years, but my national pension is just over 500,000 won. Even combined with the basic pension, it doesn't reach 800,000 won. I was stunned when I first saw that amount. To think I'd been running around like that for 20 years, only to receive 800,000 won a month, I thought it couldn't be helped since I started late after living as a full-time housewife. Still, I thought I had lived a hard-working life. After all, I owned a house, had 40 million won in savings, my husband had 50 million won in insurance, and both of my daughters were working at large corporations. That was my pride. Both of my daughters had gotten jobs at big companies. When my eldest daughter, Doa, got in first, and my second daughter, Gina, joined the marketing team, I had a glass of soju alone at home that day. Looking at a picture of my husband, I said, "Honey, I did it. I raised the kids well, even without you." Back when my 2 daughters were working, my family used to get angry. My eldest daughter, Doa, is a natural mood maker. She starts talking the moment she comes home. "Mom, the team leader said something really funny today. Want to hear it?" She would come into the kitchen without even properly taking off her shoes and rummage through the refrigerator, and I loved that so much. Even when I came home exhausted from work, hearing Doa's voice would relieve my fatigue. Unlike Doa, my second daughter, Gina, is on the quieter side. But she is a deep person in her own way. If I showed signs of being tired, she wouldn't say a word, but she would quietly massage my shoulders or cook the seaweed soup I liked for the next morning. She may not have been good at expressing herself, but her heart was full of love. Back then, my 2 daughters each gave me 1,000,000 won for living expenses every month. That was 2,000,000 won in total. Since I was working, that was actually the most comfortable time of my life. We ate good food, went to department stores occasionally, and I thought those days would last forever. But that's just how things are in life. When good times are too comfortable, they hurt even more when they end. Doa got married at 35. Even I think my son-in-law is a truly good person. He takes good care of Doa and treats me affectionately as well. He was the kind of son-in-law who always visited during the holidays and never forgot to contact us on holidays. So I was genuinely happy when Doa got married. It was because my daughter had met a good person. But after Doa got married, the house became quiet. It was just me and my second daughter, Gina, left. Our living expenses dropped from 2,000,000 won to 1,000,000 won, but that was only for a short while. Not long after Doa got married, Gina quit her job. At first, Gina said she had a tantrum. It seemed there had been friction with her team leader, and the pressure to perform was apparently severe. From what I heard, that team leader was the type who really ground people down. Gina's voice choked up when she talked about it. "Mom, I was really having such a hard time." At those words, I just hugged her. "Go ahead, rest. Rest a little, and then start again." That was 5 years ago. At first, Gina managed to get by on her severance pay. Since she had worked at a large corporation for several years, her severance pay probably wasn't small. But since I was working at the time, I wasn't too worried about Jinhua's living expenses. I thought, she can use this as my own allowance while she's off, and I can contribute again when she gets a job. That was my thinking. However, the problem began after Gina spent all her severance pay. She started stealthily using my card around the time we went grocery shopping together, and I handed it to her. Then, she would take my card when she went to the supermarket alone, and later she registered my card number when booking a hair salon appointment. Suddenly, I looked at my statement and found it full of payments I didn't recognize. That was exactly when I quit my job at age 65. As soon as I stopped working, my income cut off completely. Yet, Gina still didn't look for a job. 1 year turned into 2, and now it has already been 5 years. Even so, I believed in my daughter. I firmly believed that she would get back on her feet soon, that I just needed to wait a little longer, and that my daughter wouldn't be like this. That belief began to crumble less than a year after Gina retired. Delivery bags are piled up in the kitchen, torn delivery boxes are pushed into a corner of the living room, and the fire alarm doesn't turn on until 2 p.m. This morning, too, I opened the veranda storage. I stared at my worn-out insurance bag for a long time. This bag I carried around for 20 years. This bag that went up and down other people's stairs with me until my knees wore out. This bag that sent my 2 daughters to work at a major corporation. It feels like this bag is asking me right now, "Young, soon, are you okay?" I couldn't answer. For a while after I first started working in insurance, it was really tough. My income was erratic. Some months I didn't even make 1,000,001, and just when I thought I was making a decent amount in a month, it would drop sharply the next. And yet, I still had to pay my 2 daughters' tuition and allowances without fail. Back then, I really worried about money. There were countless nights when I couldn't sleep. It was only after my eldest daughter, Doa, became a high school student that she started taking care of things herself. One day, I was organizing my bank books in the kitchen. I was staring at numbers that made me sigh involuntarily when Doa came and sat next to me and glanced at my bank account. I didn't say anything. She just quietly got up and went to her room, but the next morning, she told me she was quitting her academy. "Mom, I don't need to go to the academy. Can I study on my own?" My heart ached at those words. She knew everything but was pretending not to be considerate of me. "What are you talking about?" "Go to the academy," I said, sending her away, but I don't know how much I cried under the covers that night. I didn't want to hurt these children so deeply. That fear made me work even harder. That is how Doa, the eldest, is. She is quick-witted and sets the tone of the house herself. When I come home exhausted from work, Doa knows first. She changes the atmosphere right from the entrance, without me having to say a word. Saying, "Mom, you worked hard today," she drags me to the kitchen to eat together, and before I know it, I find myself smiling. That was Doa. Gina had a very different personality from her older sister. She was a woman of few words and a quiet type, but she had a tender heart. Whenever she knew I was having a hard time, she would stay by my side without saying a word. One day, I came home dejected after being rejected by a client, and Gina massaged my shoulders without saying a word. Then she said just one thing, "Mom, were you really tired today?" I was so grateful for those words. Even though she was unexpressive, her heart was sincere. That is how my 2 daughters grew up. When my eldest daughter, Doa, joined a large corporation first, I stopped by the supermarket on my way home from work to buy pork belly. We grilled and ate the pork belly at home at 3 p.m. and laughed. It was just a simple dinner, but I still remember that day. Our home changed once both daughters started working. I gave each of them 1,000,001 for living expenses every month. That was 2,000,001 in total. I thought to myself, I really raised my daughters well. I was so grateful. Such kind daughters who help their mom even when they must be busy enough taking care of themselves. One day, Gina came home from work carrying a small shopping bag. My mom handed me this without saying much, but when I opened it, it was a lipstick from a department store. "What is this?" I asked. Gina had said it because she thought it would suit you well. Even as she gave me the gift, she avoided eye contact, perhaps feeling shy. I put on that lipstick and looked in the mirror, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I looked pretty. That lipstick is still on my vanity. Even though it is worn out, I haven't been able to bring myself to throw it away. Back then, my second daughter, Gina, helped with everything. Whenever I tried to lift something heavy, she would step forward and say, "I'll do it." When my eldest daughter, Doa, brought up marriage at age 35, I honestly felt both a little sad and happy. I had a good feeling from the moment she first brought her future son-in-law home. He was upright and quiet, but his expression changed when he was next to Doa. I knew right away that this was someone who loved my daughter. On the wedding day, I tried not to cry. But as Doa walked out in her wedding dress holding her son-in-law's hand, the 20 years of our family flashed before my eyes. I tried to hold back the tears, but they just flowed out as I watched my daughter, whom I raised without a husband, grow up into such a beautiful adult. After my eldest daughter, Doa, got married, the house became quiet. The sound of the front door opening diminished, The laughter in the kitchen faded, and the dinner table grew smaller. Still, I thought it was okay because Gina was there. But strangely, Gina changed a little after her older sister got married. Her expression darkened, and she spoke even less when she came home from work. I just assumed it was because her company was busy. Since Gina wasn't talking, I didn't know either. I didn't know what was wrong. Later, I found out that she had been going through a lot of hardships at her workplace. The void left by her sister's departure, the house left alone, and the pressure from Dad accumulating at work. It seems all of that hit Gina all at once. One day, Gina came home from work and just collapsed onto the living room sofa, remaining silent for a long time. I sat down next to her and asked, "Did you eat?" And she just shook her head. "Do you want to eat something?" "Mom, I want to quit my job." I thought she was just blurting that out because she was having a hard time. It's something every office worker says at least once, isn't it? I tried to comfort her by saying, "Yeah, my daughter, you're really struggling, aren't you?" But 2 months later, Gina submitted her resignation. It was a notification to me. "Mom, I quit my job." My heart sank. But when I looked at Gina's face, it was hard to say anything. She looked so gaunt. She was thin, her eyes were sunken, and I realized just how incredibly difficult it must have been for her. "Go ahead, take a rest. Rest a bit. Then start again." I said that. I trusted Jinha. I knew my daughter wouldn't just stand by and hesitate like this. I didn't know that conversation would go on for this long. For the first few months, it seemed like Gina was taking some action. She seemed to be writing resumes, going out for interviews occasionally, and since she had severance pay, I didn't have to worry about living expenses. I was still working at that time too, but after a year passed, something changed. The talk about interviews disappeared. The talk about resumes vanished as well. Gina started waking up later and later, until at some point, she wouldn't come out of her room until 2 p.m. I asked her, "Gina, are you looking for work these days?" She replied, "I am looking." I asked, "Have you applied anywhere?" She said, "I applied, but I haven't heard back." I believed her back then. Around the time Gina's severance pay ran out, I also quit my job. My income vanished all at once. All I have left now is my pension of 800,000 won. And Gina had absolutely nothing left. Looking back now, I should have been firmer. I should have said that even though she could rest, we should set a time limit. But I just couldn't bring myself to do that. When I saw my daughter's face when she came home, I couldn't scold her. More than anything, I thought that if my daughter was struggling, waiting a little longer was what a mother should do. That was my mistake. At some point, the waiting became familiar, and familiarity became the natural thing to do. And I realized that too late. I didn't know exactly how much Gina's severance pay was, because I hadn't asked. Since I worked at a large corporation for a few years, it probably wasn't a small amount. But it seems it started to gradually decrease after 2 years had passed. One day, Gina said, "Mom, I'm a bit short on my credit card bill." It was the first time. I just gave it to her. I don't even remember exactly how much it was. It probably wasn't much at first. But that once turned into twice, and twice became a month. From then on, my daughter's daily routine changed noticeably. Coming out to the kitchen, opening the refrigerator, and launching a delivery app became the start of her day. Even then, I couldn't say anything. I tried to comfort myself by telling myself that having a child isn't easy and that I needed to wait a little longer. But one day, I suddenly stopped while looking at the credit card statement. It was my card, but there was a payment entry I didn't recognize. Naylat. I don't accept Naylat. But since I didn't have the money to spend, I asked Gina, did you get that from Mom's card tomorrow? Yes. I used Mom's card for a bit. I'll pay you back later. That tone of voice was just born. There was no apology, nor was there any asking for permission. As if it were only natural, I didn't know what to say that day, so I just let it slide. She said it could happen once in a while, and that she would go once she got a job, so I told her to wait and see. But that was the beginning. Naverlat became eyelash extensions became a hair salon, and the hair salon became online shopping. At some point, several electricity bills were recorded on my card under Gina's name. Streaming subscriptions, shopping mall memberships, and small payments I didn't even know what they were for. There was a month when the card bill came out to 2,000,001. The money that had entered my account went straight out to pay the card bills. I felt like crying on the way home. I held back, because Gina would be there when I got home. My eldest daughter, Doa, sometimes sends me allowance. She would tell me to buy something delicious to eat, and she was the kind of girl who didn't forget me, even while fulfilling her role as a daughter-in-law by taking care of my in-laws. But that money disappeared not long after, too. Doa thought she was sending allowance to Mom using Gina's card money, but the reality was that it was actually going to her younger sister Pumi's house. Doa didn't know that fact, because I hadn't told her. I tried to talk to Gina properly, at least once. Gina, Mom is a bit tight these days. Can you tell me before you use your card? Do you know what Gina said? Okay. But Mom, I don't have any money right now. I'll pay it all back once I get a job. She didn't say when she would get a job. She didn't say where she had even submitted her resume. She just kept saying she would pay it back once she got a job. I had been listening to that for years. One day, as I walked past Gina's room, I heard the sound of a delivery box being torn open. I opened the door without thinking much and saw Gina taking something out and looking into it. I saw a brand logo. It was a bag. What is that? I just needed it. How did you buy it? Is it on installment? That small payment was showing up on my card. That was when I realized it. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say, so I just closed the door. She is a child I raised with such care, and I was terrified that my smart daughter might really go astray if I treated her harshly. I went to the kitchen, drank a glass of water, and stared out the window for a long time. I have worked for 20 years. I climbed stairs until my knees were raw. When I was rejected, I would turn around and cry, then go back to sign the next contract. The money I had saved so tenaciously was now going out to pay for my daughter's luxury goods installments. That night, I took a bank book out of a drawer. It was the passbook containing the 50 million won in life insurance money my husband had left behind. It was a passbook I hadn't opened for a long time. I checked the balance. 50 million won. I hadn't touched it. I thought I had to protect this at all costs. Because if even this were gone, I wouldn't have anything left. As I put the passbook back deep into the drawer, I muttered to myself, "Honey, I'm having a really hard time lately." I don't know how long it has been since I said something like this to my husband. It has already been 5 years since Gina became unemployed after I quit my job. It sounds short when I say it out loud, but if you look at my bank account, you can see just how long those 5 years have been. I used to have 40 million won in savings that I had painstakingly saved. Now only 10 million won remains. Over 30 million won has been depleted in 5 years. It slipped away little by little every month. It leaked away invisibly for college credit card bills, small payments, and food delivery costs. My entire monthly income consists of my pension of 800,000 won. However, my daughter's credit card bills are at least over 1 million won a month. In months when they are higher, they even exceed 2 million won. My pension was nowhere near enough. I have to deposit the shortfall and withdraw the money to cover it every single month. Does Gina know this? Whether she is pretending not to know or genuinely unaware, I notice that my daughter, who has no income, makes sure to check Naver at least once a month to cheer herself up. It's not like she's meeting people or going for a job interview, yet she goes to the salon for eyelash extensions at least once a month. I, on the other hand, only go to the hair salon once a year. I calculate how much a perm would cost before I even get around to it. I couldn't go because I felt that money was a waste. One day, Gina came out of her room and said as if it were nothing, "Mom, I booked a facial massage for tomorrow. I'm going to use your card." She wasn't asking for permission. It was a notification. I didn't know what to say, so I asked again, "How much is it?" 100,000 won. Does she realize how much 100,000 won is to me? It's money I think twice before putting in the cart when grocery shopping. It's money I have to go around the promotional section several times to accumulate. But Gina talked about that 100,000 won so casually. And that's not all. One day, a package arrived. I hadn't ordered anything, but there was a box in front of the entrance. I took it to Gina's room, and she excitedly tore it open. It was clothes. "How much is that?" "It's not expensive, is it?" "I bought it online." Later, it appeared on the credit card statement. It was 300,000 won. How many times did that pile up every month? 50,000 won for eyelashes, 50,000 won for clothes. I didn't even want to count how much delivery food cost in a month. I started dreading the day I received the credit card statement. How much would it be this month? Last month, it came out to 1.8 million won. More than double my pension was coming out of the card. To cover that cost, I had to use money from my savings. I couldn't tell Doa. I was afraid that if I told her how my younger sibling was living and how Mom's money was draining away like this, the house would turn into a commotion again. One day, I went to the supermarket to do some grocery shopping, but my card wouldn't work at the checkout counter. It had reached its limit. People were standing in line behind me, and I just stood there blankly holding my card. The employee asked, "Don't you have another card?" I was so embarrassed by that question that tears welled up as soon as I got in the car at the supermarket parking lot. I wondered if things would have been like this if my husband were still alive. Would Gina have been different if her father were here? That thought is what breaks me the most. When I got home, I told Gina. "Gina, Mom's card didn't work at the supermarket today. I hit the limit. Please, can you tell me in advance when you use your card?" Do you know what Gina said? "Sorry, I forgot to tell you." That night, I did the math alone. If the savings, balance, living expenses, maintenance fees, and the monthly payments for Jinhua's card keep draining at this rate, the money will be gone within a year. Then, the only thing left will be my husband's insurance money of 50 million won. I thought that I absolutely could not let that money slip away. I didn't know how long I could hold out, or how long I had to hold out. Gina woke up at 3 p.m. again today. She opens the refrigerator, turns on a delivery app, lies on the sofa, and looks at her smartphone. Watching her, I wonder how long this will go on. And at the end of that thought, the same question always comes up. What did I do wrong? There is a limit to how much I can endure. One day, I spoke to Gina. "Jinha, how long are you going to live like this?" I asked quietly. I didn't yell, nor did I argue. I was just genuinely curious. I wanted to know what Hei was thinking and how she planned to live her life. But Gina exploded. "What do you know, Mom?" It happened in an instant. The girl, who had been lying on the sofa looking at her smartphone, suddenly sprang up and yelled at me. Do you know how much pressure you put on me to succeed? It's all your fault that I'm sick. Have you ever been there for me even once when I needed you? I was speechless. She claimed I had pressured her. Did leaving at dawn and coming back at night, starving myself while carrying an insurance bag, feel like pressure to her? But those words wouldn't come out of my mouth. Gina's voice was so loud that I just stood there. Do you even know what my life is like? You did care about me, though. You were just a money-making machine. Those words pierced my heart. A money-making machine. That was the first time I realized it. Gina kept talking about how I viewed her. Do you think I got into a big corporation because I wanted to? You did it all just to show me, Mom. I poured my entire youth into meeting your expectations, and now you're asking how long I'm going to live like this? I couldn't say a word. Even though I knew it wasn't true, I didn't have the energy to refute it at that moment. Gina slammed the door shut as she went into her room. It felt like the house was shaking. I was alone in the living room. I stayed like that for a long time. It wasn't the first time. Once, I asked, Gina, shall we clean together today? And she threw the remote control, saying, You're always nagging. The remote landed right next to my feet. I picked it up and asked, Mom, I have a cold and I'm not feeling well today. Can you buy me some medicine? She replied, I'm tired too. You think only you are tired. Even then, I couldn't say anything. Whenever a conflict arises, Gina locks herself in her room. It isn't just a day or two. She wouldn't come out of her room for days at a time. She wouldn't eat, wouldn't say a word, and would just slam the door shut. At first, I was worried. I wondered if she was eating and if she was okay. When I stood at the door and said, Gina, eat, she didn't answer. Then I felt sorry again. Did I say something wrong? Did I treat her too harshly? I think that was what Gina wanted. To make her mom apologize first. One day, Gina came out of her room after 3 days. I was so glad to see her that I asked, Shall I make you a meal? Gina opened the refrigerator as if nothing had happened. There was no apology, no explanation. It was as if it had simply never happened. As if nothing had happened. That scared me even more. Had I raised her wrong, or had I done too much for her? Now, I couldn't tell the boundary between the two. It was that night. I took my husband's insurance passbook out of the drawer. I just wanted to see it. 50 million won. It was money I had vowed hundreds of times that I had to protect. But the time to spend that money was fast approaching. I thought to myself, this isn't the money I wanted to spend. I wanted to marry off my daughters without them feeling envious of me, and use this only when it was absolutely necessary. I sat there for a long time, clutching the bank book to my chest. Tears welled up. I didn't cry out loud. I swallowed my sobs, afraid Gina might hear. That night, I was confused about whether I should be the one feeling sorry for my daughter, or if she should be the one feeling sorry for me. I was watching my grown-up daughter's every move in my own home. That was my current state. I couldn't tell my eldest daughter, Doa. If I mentioned her younger sister, Gina, that she was living off Mom's credit card, or that she threw things when angry, Doa would worry, and if she worried, the house would just become chaotic again. Doa was busy managing the household and raising 2 children, and I didn't want to add my burden to hers. Then, one day, the doorbell rang. I wondered who it was, and it was Doa. Mom's here. Sorry for coming so suddenly. She had come without contacting me at all. It seemed like something was weighing on her mind. But at that moment, I was just glad to see her. As soon as I opened the front door, Doa's expression hardened. The house was a complete mess. Torn delivery boxes were piled up in one corner of the living room, takeout bags were stacked in the corner of the kitchen, and the dishes in the sink were still unwashed. Every time I cleaned up and turned around, more would pile up. I would turn around again, and it would pile up. I was exhausted too. Doa looked at me. She stared at me for a long time without saying a word. "Mom, what is this mess in the house?" At those words, I almost burst into tears. I held them back. Doa looked around the house and then saw Gina's door. It was closed. It was 1 p.m. Gina. Okay. Doa's expression hardened again. While Doa was eating with me in the kitchen, Gina's door opened. It was past 2 p.m. Gina came out and saw Doa. "You're here, Annie?" She looked surprised, yet she opened the refrigerator in a flash. Doa spoke quietly. "Gina, have you eaten? I'm going to order delivery. Let's eat together. Sit down." Gina sat down at the table reluctantly. The three of us sitting at the table felt awkward. It had been a long time since the three of us had sat together, yet no one spoke. Doa was the first to speak. "Jinha, how are things these days? Are you looking for a job?" Jinhua's expression turned cold. "Why do you need to know that?" "Because I'm worried." "Worried? You're doing just fine." Doa spoke while holding back her words. "It's not about doing well. I'm worried about you. I don't need to. I'll handle my own affairs." "Handle it yourself." That's what I've been hearing for 5 years. I just ate my meal. After finishing, Doa, the eldest daughter, went to the kitchen to do the dishes and retrieved a statement. My credit card statement was right next to the sink. Doa picked up the statement. She stared at it for a long time. "Mom, is this month's card bill?" I couldn't answer. Doa's eyes widened. She took the statement to her younger sister, Gina. Gina glanced at it and turned her head away. "So is there a problem?" Doa's voice trembled. "What do you mean, so?" "These clothes for tomorrow's eyelashes are all Mom's credit card. Where would Mom get the money? Are you out of your mind? Do you understand? I can just pay it back." Doa raised her voice, asking when she would ever get a job. It was the first time I had ever seen Doa yell at her younger sister. Jinhua stood up. "Why are you yelling? Why are you yelling at me? You shouldn't treat Mom like this." No matter what I did, it's hard. The two daughters were being hit in the living room. I couldn't do anything between the sisters. Gina turned to me. "Mom, don't let my sister come home. She must be happy because she escaped by marrying a good husband. I have nothing." Doa stood in front of Gina, blocking her path. "What did you just say to Mom?" "Move aside, Gina." Just then, Gina picked up the remote control from the sofa. She didn't throw it at me. She just slammed it onto the floor. There was a loud bang. At that moment, Doa burst into tears. Watching her, I thought, Ihe has really held back a lot. Doa knew too. She knew her younger sister was gradually changing. She just hadn't said anything until now. Gina went into her room and locked the door. Doa hugged me. We stayed like that for a long time. "Mom, you had a really hard time, didn't you? Why didn't you tell me?" "I'm sorry. I was so busy trying to survive that I couldn't take care of you and Gina. Only then did I cry." I cried out loud. For the first time in this house. After crying for a while, Doa spoke. Quietly but firmly. Mom, paying off Gina's debts and giving her living expenses, that isn't love. I received Doa's rebuke. You're the one who made her like this. She thinks she doesn't have to do anything because you take care of everything for her. Those words pierced my heart. They weren't wrong. I had never once thought that way. Or perhaps I wanted to pretend I didn't know that the things I did for my daughter's sake were actually ruining her. Doa was right. She said she loved me, but in the end, she had robbed me of the chance to stand on my own every time. Doa took my hand. Mom, you have to think about yourself now. You have to live too. I couldn't say a word. After Doa left, the house became quiet. Gina's room was still locked. I sat alone in the living room, mulling over what Doa had said earlier that day. Mom made her like this. Those words lingered in my head all night. A few days passed since Doa visited. Since that day, Gina rarely came out of her room. She would take her food if I left it at the door and barely spoke. I just left her alone. I felt like she would explode again if I provoked her. Then, one evening, Gina came out of her room. Her expression was somehow different. She seemed agitated, yet also as if she had made a decision. Mom, I have something to tell you, she said, as she sat on the sofa. I sat across from her. I'm planning to start a business. It was completely out of the blue. After being unemployed for 5 years, suddenly talking about a business? What kind of business? An online business. Lately, I've been studying on YouTube and looking into that field quite a bit. I listened quietly. But I need some initial capital. Mom, lend me some money. I asked how much? Just help me with 10 million won for now. For a moment, I couldn't believe my ears. 10 million won. That is exactly the amount left in my savings right now. It is barely the money left after 30 million won melted away while I was supporting Gina for 5 years. She was asking for that as business capital. That money is a no-go. My voice came out more firmly than I expected. Why can't I touch that money? Why can't I? It's not my money anyway. Later. The moment those words came out, I felt like I couldn't breathe. What did she mean by, it's my money anyway? I couldn't say a word for a while. Gina continued. Mom, I want to make a comeback too. We can't just stay like this. You have to give me a chance so I can say something. A chance. Wasn't supporting her for 5 years a chance? Wasn't paying off her credit card bills every month a chance? Gina, that money is a no-go. It's Mom's retirement fund. If that disappears, Mom will have nothing. There's the insurance money too. That absolutely cannot happen. Why not? I didn't answer. Gina raised her voice. You always say you don't have money, but you can just sell the apartment. Her daughter was telling her to sell the house for the sake of 10 million won for her own business. The house I had run around protecting for 20 years. I can't sell this house. Why? This is Mom's house. It's where Mom needs to live. Gina stood up from her seat. Mom always just says no. Whenever I try to do something, you always block me. Then she tried to go back into her room. I was going to let her go, but Gina turned around at the door and said one more thing. If Mom dies, isn't it my money anyway? Those words lingered in the air. I froze in place. Gina closed the door. I sat on the sofa for a long time. No tears came out. I realized that when you're in too much pain, even tears don't come. That night, for the first time, I asked myself, what have I done to this child? Was it love, or had my understanding robbed her of the strength to live on her own? In over 20 years of working, I never once let Gina fall, If she fell, I supported her. If she struggled, I solved the problem. If she was lacking, I filled the gap. I thought that was love. But it wasn't. I had been taking away Gina's chance to learn how to stand on her own every single time. That night, I called Doa. I didn't say a word, but I cried as soon as she answered. Doa said, "Mom, you have to make a decision now." I knew it. I knew I couldn't put it off any longer. After hanging up with Doa, I sat there for a long time. It was the next morning. Gina left, saying she was going to the hair salon. Watching her retreating figure, I made a decision. I called Doa. Doa, can you come over now? Doa arrived right away. The two of us started packing Gina's things. Clothes, cosmetics, frequently used items. My hands trembled. Was this the right thing to do? Had I collected too much? But Doa spoke up from the side. "Mom, if you don't do it now, you'll never be able to." After packing all the things, Doa and I changed the house coat together. Then we put the luggage out in front of the entrance. We waited for Gina to come back. A little while later, I heard the sound of the front door password being entered. But the door didn't open, because the password had changed. A moment later, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. Gina was already there. She froze when she saw her belongings piled up in front of the entrance. "Mom, what is this?" I looked at Jinhua. I looked at her for a long time. "Gina, pack your things." "What are you talking about?" "You have to leave here starting today." Gina's voice rose. "Mom, are you crazy? Where are you telling me to go?" "There's nowhere to go." I composed my trembling voice and spoke coldly. "That's your job to figure out now." "Gina, I can't stop you forever. You have to live your own life now. From today, I won't pay a single penny of your credit card bills. Earn the money to pay off the debt you created yourself. If you don't like it, go bankrupt or do whatever you want. Are you telling me to die? How can I work for you?" At those words, I felt like my heart was breaking. But I didn't collapse right there. It was the first time. Even though Gina was crying and screaming, I didn't break down. I spoke slowly. "No, I am finally giving you a chance to live like a human being. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to save you." Gina looked at me. "Mom, Jinha, you are a grown adult now." Gina cried. She sobbed out loud. I cried too. My eldest daughter, Doa, carried Gina's belongings and left. Gina banged on the front door, crying and wailing, but I didn't look back. I went into the living room and turned off the lights. I could hear Gina's crying from beyond the front door for a long time, but I clenched my fists so tightly that my fingernails dug into my flesh and endured. I stayed right there. The house was silent for a long time. It was so quiet that my ears were ringing. I was told that on the day Gina left, Doa, perhaps unable to bear the thought of her younger sibling being born on the streets, emptied her emergency savings to get her a small studio apartment. Later, Doa told me, "Mom, I got Gina a room. I only lent her the deposit. She's going to earn the money to pay for the rent and living expenses. Gina is a smart kid, so she'll do well. Don't worry." "Thank you, Doa." "And I'm sorry, Mom." 6 months passed. Gina said she had started a part-time job at a convenience store. At first, Doa contacted me. "Mom, Gina contacts me often saying she's having a hard time. If she contacts you, you absolutely must not help her." "Okay." I helped her, but I didn't say anything more. One day, I received a text from Gina. Mom, I got my meal allowance this month. It's tough working the night shift at the convenience store, but it tastes strangely good because I'm buying food with my own money. I wanted to send you some, so I'm sending 100,000 won. Please accept it. I stared at that text for a long time. 100,000 won. Over the past 5 years, Gina has spent tens of millions of won from my card, but that 100,000 won felt heavier than any other money. A few days later, I received another text. Mom, I was wrong. If you hadn't let me go back then, I think I would have lived like that my whole life. I'm sorry. And thank you. I went into the kitchen and brewed some tea. As I took a sip, a thought suddenly crossed my mind. Did the sunlight always come into this house this well? I realized that when Gina was here, I couldn't even open the curtains during the day. She kept me in that darkness with her, afraid she might wake up while she was sleeping. Now, I open the curtains wide every morning. Watching the sunlight push its way all the way to the end of the living room, I feel like I am finally embracing my own life. I think I understand a little bit about what raising children means now. I realize that the goal of raising children isn't to harvest a respectable crop. It is about willingly emptying the field I have carefully tended when the time comes. I learned that if I don't empty the field, my child will never have the land to plant their own seeds throughout their life. I realized this far too late. That a greater love than holding a child in your arms until the very end is letting them stand on their own 2 feet. I was a truly inadequate mother. If there are any of you out there who are exhausted from supporting your children like I was, I want to tell you this: the final insurance policy of your life must be yourself. When you are healthy, at peace, and able to take responsibility for yourself, that is the greatest legacy you can leave your children. If my story touched you even a little, please show your support by subscribing and liking. I sincerely wish for your later years to be filled with peace. Thank you for watching until the end.